Hello and welcome to Leadership and Teamwork Training, comparing in-person and virtual modalities. My name is Dr. Andrew Pischel, and on behalf of my co-authors, I'd like to thank AABRI for giving us our opportunity to share our findings with everyone. So regarding this study examines how instructional modalities, both in-person and virtual, impact student confidence in leadership and teamwork training through an interdisciplinary team-based leadership project for undergraduate students. This is called the ECO Challenge. Now, COVID-19 changed everything. And when we think about how we shifted to virtual learning, this opportunity to do this study gives a natural comparison for both in-person and virtual teaching. We have found that there is no significant difference in students' self-reported confidence across modalities, which gives implications for higher education and organizational training design in the future. This presentation gives an overview of the study itself and concludes with limitations and other future research directions. So let's go ahead and get started. We actually, as instructors, some of us have a choice on in-person versus virtual or even hybrid modalities and how we, get our information out to our students, and how this modality impacts our students is really important. Even though virtual learning began in the 1960s, COVID-19 has accelerated this and has made us, think about, how we want to reach the students, when do we want to reach them, and, what their preferences are for learning as well. This study compares two cohorts, an in-person and a virtual cohort, and they're studying the same interdisciplinary leadership project. It's over the course of 2 different years. There's difference in student confidence, in leadership and teamwork skills by each of the delivery formats, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's move forward to the literature review. So in terms of leadership training, La Cerenza in 2017 talked about equipping individuals with cross-functional skills to guide teams towards their shared goals. So in the ECO Challenge, this is something that the students are doing no matter what their department is or home college. They're working in these multidisciplinary teams towards this shared goal by the end of the semester. Now, in terms of teamwork skills, when we look at Van Diegel, 2022, the integral part of leadership and commonly included in training programs, we have to give the students the teamwork skills needed to not only form and, they storm and they normalize and then they perform, but what are those skills that they need in order to be successful? Then we talk about in-person training and virtual trainings, and there's pros and cons to both, but in-person training offers real-time feedback, enhanced peer communication and engagement, in a environment that is a face-to-face environment. And sometimes students prefer this. Maybe it's a more extroverted student, someone that wants to have that connection. Well, virtual training provides flexibility. We use more multimedia tools. We can collaborate remotely. And sometimes our more introverted students or students that have more responsibilities, this is what they prefer. Now, the teaching modality actually is more effective when we think about the individual professor, we think about the learners, we think about technology, we think about all the resources that we have available to us. But in terms of the literature review, we really wanted to think about holistically, what do the modalities have in terms of impact on the students, and what do we need to know moving forward? The study itself is actually focused on full-time undergraduate students. We are a mid-sized R1 university in the Midwest of the United States. Enrolled in this class, the ECO Challenge, as I said before, this is a interdisciplinary management course that's an elective offered to third-year students. It focuses on practical applications of leadership and teamwork skills. There's an underlying theme of sustainability, and they work in cross-functional disciplinary teams across the entire 15-week semester. Now, these could be students from almost any major. This is through our Strategic Leadership Center in the College of Business and through our School of Engineering as well, and students from communication, students from the arts. This is open to any university student that's in our leadership or engineering programs. And we strive for the students to deliver a solutions-driven pitch to external stakeholders and university leadership. And they actually have workshops that enhance their skills, their development. They get feedback and coaching, and they meet with the stakeholders throughout the semester. And the most rewarding part of this is that at the end, they actually compete, they present, and usually at least one of the projects is chosen to be applied to the university. So there really is some real-world impact for this project. Now, in terms of our methodology, we talk about the samples. This present study has 2 samples of students. Sample 1 is 22 students that were in a 100% in-person section of the course. Sample 2 was 100% virtual, and that was 21 students. Data collected was collected during the final week of classes with a short Qualtrics online survey. Invitations to participate were sent to students via email. And then, of course, we have to remind them. So announcements were made in class, and announcements were also made in the course's online learning management system. On average, the students completed the survey in just under 5 minutes. So it didn't take too much of their time. The survey itself was an anonymous online survey. Both samples measuring the confidence in leadership skills and teamwork skills. This built on a paper, Pischel et al. In 2020. And so this added the virtual component to this. And the leadership items were based on skills prior research had identified as important to success in cross-functional teams. These included defining key factors and issues, presenting an analysis of leadership strategies, constructing leadership arguments, and identifying outcomes. The teamwork skill included items focused on listening, empowering others, and both internal and external communications. Excuse me. Now, across both samples, both the leadership with an alpha equaling 0.94 and teamwork with an alpha of 0.90 scales demonstrated acceptable reliability for this study. Moving forward to the results specifically for leadership, our table 1 is our confidence and leadership skill, knowledge and skills. Now, this was actually fascinating because, of course, the mean differences for each item were analyzed using independent sample t-test, but we went in kind of thinking, in person would be the way to go. Absolutely, everyone learns best in terms of leadership skills, in person. But this wasn't the case. It actually switched back and forth. So things like defining key factors and issues was stronger in person. Demonstrating leadership practice was stronger overall virtually. And so was developing leadership skills. Identifying outcomes was more of an in-person strength. Presenting analysis of leadership strategies was in person. Constructing leadership arguments was stronger virtually. And designing leadership practices was also stronger virtually. Also results in teamwork. Table 2, confidence in teamwork, knowledge, and skills. This was also fascinating because you think about the results here, motivating teams to achieve their individual goals. This was slightly stronger virtually, but empowering the team to achieve their team goals was stronger in person. Listening to team and stakeholders, this was slightly stronger virtually. Communicating a vision to the team was stronger virtually, and communicating a vision to external stakeholders was slightly stronger virtually. So what did you think? Did you think the teamwork was going to be stronger in person or virtual? And how did this match up? Well, overall, there really is no difference. When we're greater than 0.05, an average self-reported confidence where but between the in-person and virtual courses, there really was no difference in the confidence for leadership or the team-based skills. So, both of them will work equally as strong. And why is this important? Well, when we think about this, in-person versus virtual learning modalities does not significantly relate to students' confidence in various leadership and teamwork skills. It does not impact students' ability to consistently report self-perceptions about the confidence in gaining leadership and teamwork knowledge and skills. Well, this is great. These findings align with other research using different populations and contexts. Fernandez et al. 2023 did recent work comparing training modalities for physicians. So, what does this mean and why is this important? Well, before we get to that, we need to think about our limitations. The study, of course, is limited. The limited amount of participants is one of the first limitations. There's absence of statistically significant findings. The study's overall generalizability with the sample size, the very specific participation population. These are undergraduate students in one course. Of course, different modalities, but they are they are students studying strategic leadership and engineering or engineering. And then also not considered in this study is the use of a hybrid modality. According to Risk and Tucker in 2025, this is what students, sometimes, really love. They love this modality where they can engage where they want to. They can have the flexibility to prioritize how they need to, and then engage in ways that matter to them. So I want to make sure that we think about the actual study's framework and research design. It's really easy to adapt this, and you could replicate it across different contexts or populations, and we're happy to help you do that if you'd like to. Our contact information, of course, is at the end. And moving towards the future, when we think about, we talked about how this could focus or have an impact on professionals in the future and organizations. First of all, we want to think about the study and think, well, what could happen if the Eco Challenge or the course that we're studying or using for this study, what if this could be adapted for a hybrid format? Would the students, competence levels change if we were able to kind of meet them halfway in what they thought was more popular? And then also, what would the results of this longitudinal study be, given that the Eco Challenge is held every year? This is something that we could study for the next 10 to 15 years and kind of see what works best. So in conclusion, this study investigated potential differences in student confidence in newly learned leadership and teamwork skills. We compared two different cohorts of undergraduate students participating in an interdisciplinary team-based leadership project. Findings suggest that the learning environment, in-person versus online, does not significantly impact students' self-reported confidence in these skills. Virtual, hybrid, and in-person learning have all unique benefits and challenges. The decisions about implementation should be based on, field experience and high-quality research grounded in theory, not just assumptions, to ensure that students and other learners have optimal learning environments. These are our references if you'd like to follow along. We would love to talk to you about our research. We'd love to collaborate with you moving forward. And we'd like to thank you for your time. So on behalf of Kim Jordan, myself, Catherine Hartman, Ryan Johnson, David Bayless, and Mary Tucker, we want to thank you and, of course, AABRI for attending our session, Leadership and Teamwork Training, Comparing In-Person and Virtual Modalities. Thank you.